Hello, welcome back to my series in Factorio, in which I'm attempting to build a mega factory. My name is Azrael. Come along with me as we continue our adventure. Now, as you remember in the last episode, we finally fixed our iron plate deficiency. That sounds like a medical problem. Uh, but now we've bottlenecked on our copper plate production. So in this episode, that's what we're going to fix. But in order to do that, I need to go face off against some biters, so I'm building up some defenses to take along with me, some extra turrets and ammunition and whatnot. Also looking for ways to make room in my inventory, because that always seems to be a problem. I get rid of some of the ore that I've picked up over the course of days. Craft up some of the weapons that I kind of forgot that I was able to, such as the combat shotgun and a flamethrower, because I will eventually be crafting up some ammunition for that, because ever since the 0.13 update, the flamethrower has become a much more viable weapon. So it's time to make good on that. Alright, just one last stop here at my junk box to get rid of a few things. Don't want to get run over by the train. And fixing one of the conditions that I noticed in the previous episode. It was set to an and when it should have been an or. Renaming that station, because it's also another thing I realized I had forgotten to do. Alright, now we're going to make our way through this dense, thick forest over here to this biter nest, which is far too close to my base for comfort. Lure them all out there and take care of it. Do a traditional turret creep on these guys. Even those medium-sized biters are no match for my turrets. But one thing that this nest does have that's going to be a problem are medium-sized worms. They can outrange my turrets and hit me in the process. Like there's one that's just plugging away on it with impunity, and I want to make sure that's not going to happen. I craft up a few more repair kits in my inventory. And then finally just take out the remaining few things here. A couple more worms up at the top. And they are done. And that does it for this whole base. Pick up my turrets, pick up all the alien artifacts, and I'm on my way down to the copper resource patch down here. This thing is nice and large. That should last me for quite a while. Alright, I'm going to start setting up a loading station. Make sure that all of these inserters are in the right places, and make sure that there's enough room for 2 trains to be waiting in that station, even though only one will be loaded at a time. Have that head on down there. That line connects around, and I'm going to build a roundabout down here at the bottom so that they can turn around and head back to the factory. That's just getting all put in place, just like that. And more research getting in my way. I don't even recall what I was actually researching there, because it somehow came up on sulfur instead, which was researched a long time ago. Alright, just getting the next couple of things. Might as well do some combat robotics, even though I'm nowhere near to the point where my factory is even making robots, let alone the combat variety. But that will all be sorted out in the near future. In the meantime, there go the inserters. I'm going to try to do the same layout that I had before, and since I've taken a great deal of time in getting that station set up the way it was, I have no problem remembering how it was laid out. Well, a little bit, maybe. There we go. And once again, I am completely out of red splitters in my inventory, so I'm just going to use the yellow ones until I have the forethought of going back to the factory and picking up some more, which does not happen in this episode, sadly. But anyway, this should all be working just fine. I'm going to go ahead and plunk down the mining drills. I only have 10 of them in my inventory, but that's a good place to start, at least to, get a good measure of how it's all working. And I'm going to bring in those lines so that they will inevitably feed into the loading dock. A substation there to cover it all. I'm going to have that connect up to a power system of the power infrastructure there along the rails, and I'm trying to figure out how to cover the rest of the mining drills. But I get all that sorted out, and there's some turrets to protect the place because this is pretty much the most out into the frontier that I have at the moment. So it will inevitably come under attack at some point in the future. I'm just going to need to set up some walls and so a lot more turrets there, but that will all come in the future. In the meantime, right now I'm just connecting the track line up to the line that I had before, and there is a ton of thick forest to get through, so it's gonna take a while. And somewhere up here, I'm probably gonna have to construct another roundabout to connect those two lines. But in the meantime, heading back into the main factory here, I need to pick up some more stuff. Primarily stuff to make rails, all the stone ore, some steel, and some iron plates as well, and I might as well pick up some copper plates as well, because it's right there. Even though I don't need it to make rail, it's good to have that kind of stuff just hanging out in your inventory for when you need it. Alright, and some more turrets as well, because I'm going to be needing a lot of those. You can see my line up here. I'm just checking to make sure everything has its ammunition in there, because there's been a lot of attacks up here. There's a couple of spots flashing in the pollution cloud. That's usually an indicator that there's a biter nest out there, because nests do absorb pollution as a way of measuring uh, how many like medium biters in this case and all that kind of good stuff. It affects their evolution level the more pollution they actually absorb. So I'm just kind of hurting myself with all of this, but that's kind of how it inevitably goes. Another thing that I also noticed that my petroleum gas tanks are completely full, so there's probably no production going on anywhere. I go ahead and turn off a couple of the light oil cracking plants, because obviously I just don't need that much. Making my way through the forest. Finally, I just get fed up and just start shooting my way through. Honestly, I thought that track was a lot farther to the west. But here we go. I've crafted up a tank, and I'm going to use that to clear these trees out of my way so that I can lay this rail a whole lot faster. A little trick I picked up watching some other videos, but I don't want to take out that power line. So I'm going to get those out of my way, get that thing going again. That just makes such easy work of clearing out those trees. And yeah, right here I'm going to have to put in a roundabout, which is kind of a peculiar position considering the output line from the iron mine. But since I don't know, I'm just kind of gonna put it in there anyway and see how it all works. If I need to move that input or the output line from the mine later on, then so be it. Just got to clear out a bunch more trees, get everything out of my way, and just putting the finishing touches on that roundabout. Alright, we're about like 2/3 of the way around, 3/4. One more tree. There we go. Alright, and then I take out part of that rail anyway. It's like I'm a glutton for punishment or something. Anyway, yeah, that line will come in there. That will go out. Yeah, maybe I could just put a straight bit of rail to connect it, that iron output line into the roundabout instead of shifting it over. Yeah, see the train just keeps going by. It's going by quite a lot. It's probably because it doesn't have a whole lot of room to unload the ore back in my loading station. Because if you remember, it's just kind of clogged up at the moment. Alright, that actually should work just fine for allowing that train onto the roundabout. Yeah, see, there it goes. It was working just fine. I'm hoping that's not going to become a major concern for other trains that will eventually be traveling through here. But we'll see as time goes on. You can already see that the train's adapted to using the roundabout instead of the straight rails, because I took the straight rails out, so it didn't really have much of a choice. I'm going to go ahead and put in some signals around here so that even though this is the only train on the track and it's guaranteed to never run into itself, eventually that won't be the case, and it will have plenty of opportunity to run into other trains. I have that one signal right there that's still not figuring itself out. It's probably because I put in some chain signals around the roundabout itself. Probably just simply because of that right there, taking that line out, and it all figured itself out. If that train ever does need to come out of the iron mine and head east, it can just go around the roundabout. So that extra line there that I set up in the previous episode is ultimately unnecessary. I get an achievement for knocking trees down with the tank. I was beginning to wonder if that was ever going to happen in one of these episodes, getting any achievement whatsoever, and there it goes. I can pat myself on the back now. Alright, and I don't have enough stuff in my inventory to craft up more chain signals, but I do have some leftover rail signals, so I'm just going to put a few of those in place. Alright, and this looks like it should be ready. I just need to connect it back up to the power infrastructure. As soon as the research stops popping up right under my cursor, get a few of those laid down. I can see that I'm just going to be passing right by the output line from the power station. Run out of those long ones in my inventory, craft up a few more. Right there, it connects in both to the main factory and what I originally thought was heading back down to the power plant. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing up here for the iron mine so that I can get rid of these ugly wooden power poles that have just proven to get in my way more often than anything else. So I'm just going to clean up some of that leftover infrastructure there. And take that out, realize that that was what was connecting my stone production. So reconnect that. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of the stone bricks because I'm going to be needing to make a lot of walls to protect my new copper outpost. I'm going to head back over here. I can start cleaning up that infrastructure, but then I realized that's still the only way that the main factory is actually connecting to the power plant. So I can't just take out any one of these poles because then the whole place goes dark. So I just realized that I just need to head back over here to my power plant and connect this up to those new lines that I just put up. And that does it, even though that light didn't come back on, but that's just simply because it's no longer within range of a power pole. There it goes. And that should be feeding the rest of the factory now. I can go ahead and get those last couple of poles out of the way, and I can also get rid of these poles up here that were originally connecting the coal mine. Get all those out of the way. And that's all peachy. Connect that up right there so I can get rid of this line. It mainly just so that it's not there in any other potential construction. You know, out of sight, out of mind. And I get rid of those as well. Alright, everything there is cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and decommission the last couple of furnaces off of this line since they're obviously not doing anything. I'm just going to go ahead and take those over to the new smelting area once I get the rest of this all cleaned up. And once again, I just cut off power to the entire factory. Cannot have that. There we go. I'll clean up those other wooden power poles later. Right now I need to go and figure out how I'm going to connect a copper smelting area and a copper unloading facility. It's probably going to just be over there. I was thinking about moving the roundabout to be a little more eastward, but there was a part of me that's like, I'm thinking I just want to have the extra room between those two smelting facilities because that way there's plenty of room for growth in the future. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to get these rails coming off of this roundabout so that the iron trains have a place to turn around before going through the rest of the line. And then the copper ore trains will just have to go through the roundabout and get to their own unloading station. I want to make sure everything is lined up nice and pretty with the other set of stations. And I realize it's not quite matching up to that line, and I realize it's because over here it's coming off of a curve that's higher than that straight section. So I just have to have it come off of there instead. There we go. Turns out I was only one rail section away from figuring that out on my own, but hey, that's how we figure things out. Okay, and that's where the second station is going to be, and from there on heading south. And I run out of rails again. You just need a ton of those things. There's another biter corpse right there at my smelting area. They're just getting really aggressive for that area. And the next episode or so, I'm probably going to have to go on another biter eliminating run. But in the meantime, I just want to get this copper section figured out. So I got to pick up some more stone ore. It's all the way over here. Man, this is a long run. I can't wait until I get the those electric power legs, whatever you want to call them. I forget what their actual names are. But you know what I mean. The exoskeleton, the powered exoskeleton, that's what they're called. I'm going to go ahead and get that train out of my inventory. Set up a station. And remembering, of course, that I want to have enough room for 2 of these trains waiting. While one of them is unloading, the next one's waiting to unload. Just because I imagine in the future I'm going to need that kind of throughput. And if it turns out that I don't, oh well, it's there. You know, it's better to be over prepared than under prepared, I would imagine. All right, and now there's the output line. I'm going to go ahead and set up the second roundabout. Get that laid down nice and quick. I'm starting to get the hang of that. As long as there's no trees in my way, because otherwise that'll take forever. Alright, now that line is set up. Put up some rail signals in a couple of places. And I want to get this train up to the station. I know I don't need it there, but you know, it's just kind of an eyesore sitting out there on its own, not doing anything. At least right here, it looks like it's ready to go. So you know, that's what I want it to be, ready to take off. Okay. Anyway, enough of that. I don't have enough steel in my inventory to make all the boxes for this, but I do have some wooden boxes. This whole station, just like the previous one, I'm going to lay it out with whatever I have in my inventory first, and then worry about upgrading all the components later. Because I just don't have enough of them in my inventory at the moment. I don't want to run all the way back into the main factory to get them all, because chances are I'll just run out anyway. I mean, I've got to do enough back and forth here just to reference the other station that I already have laid out. I suppose I have the ability to build blueprints now, so I probably could have made a blueprint and set it down. Have I don't have the construction robots to build it for me, it would at least show me where everything is supposed to go. So maybe that's something I should have in the future. And of course, eventually when I do get the construction bots, I'll already have that part of it ready to go. Which seems to be the theme of the things I'm rambling on about today. Just having things ready to go. Alright, upgrade a few of those. Now I'm also out of the underground belts of the red variety in my inventory. So again, that's just something else that I'll need to be upgraded in the future. And just finishing up the last couple of belt balancers here. Trying to remember how I did this. Yeah, it was something like that, actually. There we go. And there we go. We've got that. There's the secondary signal that's flashing, which means it can't resolve itself. Which basically is just a sign that I don't have enough rail signals everywhere else. I'm probably doing overkill on these rail signals, but I'll figure that out as time goes on. So not really something I'm overly concerned with at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and connect up the power. And then I run out of those pylons. And that is just one tile out of range. I'm going to go ahead and replace all of those with the substation. And then one last steel pole for the coal loader, which isn't actually loading any coal at the moment, but we'll get that all sorted out eventually. Alright, I've got enough power over here. Hypothetically, this should all be ready to go. So I accept that, of course, that I forget those belts up there as well. Now it should theoretically be ready to go. Hop in the train, and I'm going to set up all the conditions and make sure that I get them set correctly. More research getting in my way. There we go. I forgot to change the name of that, the copper mine station. But we'll sort that out when I get there. Alright, we're running, we're going, and it's loading. Alright, while I'm here, change the name of the station. And I'm just going to watch and see how much it loads while I'm standing here in the station. It looks like it's going pretty well. We may actually just fill up before we take off in the 60-second deadline. Not quite. But still, it's about on par with the iron train, so looks like we'll be about equal on these in these outputs. And then, of course, I realize that it's not outputting anywhere. It's just sort of filling up on the belt. So, gotta first put in the belt, the 4-lane belt balancer. I'm trying to do some suave and snazzy shortcuts with the way the belts are facing, but I ended up just taking too long. And now, again, I want to make sure everything is lined up nice and neat with the other station. And go ahead and start laying out those lines. I'm not overly concerned with where they're going to line up because there should be enough room between these two sets of furnaces that it won't make a big deal. I'm already over time on this episode, I realize that, but I want to get this done. I don't want to have to wait until the next episode for the copper to catch up, so I'm hurrying as fast as I can to just place these things down. I'm going to go ahead and set up some defenses here, because I know that the biters do tend to come in and make a mess of the furnace areas. They produce a lot of pollution, so it does really attract them. I'm going to go ahead and put the power in. I can actually start using substations as long as I don't put the turrets right in the place where they need to be. And I might actually forget to put those turrets back in place, but I'm in a hurry. I want to get this done. Alright, so those have now begun, and I just need to connect the line up to the main belt of the factory, and everything should be peachy keen. I'm not entirely sure how far north I need to have this belt going, because I don't want to take the time to measure it out. I can always move it later in the future. It does turn out to be just a little bit north, farther north than I want it to be, but actually it's a decent position, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. There you see that line creeping in slowly. And so that should do it. That'll be the end of the episode today. Thank you very much for watching. Never stop building.